So this is an example of the type of thing that you could create for your uh, project, your Razor Page project. I did a new application. I called it PD app, PD short for professional development. And I'm going to use this to store different PD opportunities that I find. Um, Obviously, during the school year, I don't have time to go through them. So right now, I'm just bookmarking them, and I have way too many bookmarks to sift through. So this actually is a way for me to organize and store them. So you create the app, and then we are going to customize the apps. So you create it. Then your next step is going to be to create a models folder. So you're going to have to right click on your PD app or whatever app you make. You can literally do one on anything you want, but you'll go to add a new folder and you'll call it models. And you will start by creating a model. And so your model needs to have an ID because that's going to be the primary key. Then you need at least 5 other properties, and it's your choice what you choose to store. So the properties that you see here are the ones that I thought would be useful in a professional development app that's designed to store professional development resources. So you will need to have the ID and at least 5 of these. I have 6. And these are the class itself, you're setting up like you would do any other C# class. So these are your properties. If you are not sure if you're going to enter data into the property, you need to make it nullable. So you put in a question mark. And you'll notice that I am initializing the properties as I go through. And I don't initialize the primary key because that's going to be automatically generated and I don't need to. And once you've got all your properties entered, the next thing you're going to do is add your data annotations. So these help keep the data accurate. And they're kind of the rules that you have for how the data is supposed to be entered. So if it's a string, you should at least have a maximum length on the string. And you'll notice that I've done that. And I didn't do that in description. I didn't want to limit the description, so there is no max on that. For the range, that is for numeric data. If the numbers have to be within a certain range, you should put the range data annotation on there. Also, you should indicate what the data type is. And then if you want it to have a certain precision when you store it in the database, meaning you want a specific number of decimal places, you need to put that in using column. And then for your date, you should have a data type indicated and a display format. And this information I'm showing you here, but it's also in the Razor Pages app. So a lot of these things are in the Contasso and the movie Razor Pages app that you've already completed. So you're going to be adding those annotations here as well. Okay, and anytime you add an annotation, you need the using statement, using system component model data annotations. If it is an annotation that will affect the creation of the database itself, if it's going to affect the columns or the data that you're storing, then you have to add the system component model data annotation schema. Okay, because those changes are to the database. They're considered part of the database schema, and that requires a little different using statement. So once you've got this done, you can save it. And your next step is going to be to come down to Pages. You're going to right click, add, and you're going to add a folder that is going to store all your CRUD functions. And you are going to be generating those. So you can see I'm making the names of my thing, my folders, they all kind of make sense. So in mine, I call it PD. You can call yours whatever you want, but it should be related to what you are going to be doing in your app. So once you've got your folder, then what you're going to do is you're going to right click, go to add, and you're going to choose new scaffolded item. You want Razor Pages and Razor Pages Entity Framework, and you're going to click add. Your model class is the class you just created. And then you are going to generate this. This is not going to be here. You're going to have to click on plus and click on add. Then all of your defaults should work fine, and you can just click the add button. Okay, and then what it does is it generates all of the pages, and you'll see a little message about scaffolding. And then you should see a list of pages. Okay, and at this point, you still can't run anything. Okay, so we haven't actually created the database yet. So at this point, you've got all of your CRUD functionality, and it should have generated a data folder with your context file in there. And so you can kind of take a look. And basically all this is telling our app is where the model is located and what we want our database table called. All right. And if you remember, when you do that, it modifies program CS and it adds this little statement where it is connecting that app context file with the app settings.json file. And that app settings.json file is indicating where this database is physically going to be stored. Okay, and it's also got some settings for the database and a name for the database. And if you don't like the default name, you can change it. I changed mine because those default names are ridiculous. Okay, so I always change that name. And so at this point, this is where you're at. Okay, and so what we're going to do next before we generate the database is we're going to add the seed data class. So you're going to add that class to models. It's just a right click, add and class, and you're going to call it seed data. Okay, and you can actually copy some of this from your other apps that you've created, but you have to add this at the top because it is indicating that we're creating a context object, and it's from our PD app context class. And that's how it starts. You're going to add this to make sure that the context isn't null. You add this to make sure that the database is empty. Otherwise, it could write over the top of data that's there. And then this is your seed data. And at the very bottom, this is where you're telling it to save the changes. Okay, so that is all the seed data. And then once you are done with that, you do need to add some code to program CS in order for that seed data to run. And the code that you need to add is right here. It's the same code, exactly the same code that we added in the other projects. Okay, and this is what tells it to run the seed data. And if you don't add that code, you will not get seed data. Okay, so after you add that code, now make sure you save everything. Now you can go into the package manager and you can run the add migration, initial create. And again, you can get to it through tools, NuGet package manager console. I have mine docked down here. But what you're going to do is you're going to do an add migration initial create. that is going to create this migration folder. It's going to put a couple files in there. This first file is where the up and the down methods are. And these are giving instructions for creating the database and the table. And if you chose to remove it, directions on how to drop your database or drop your table. Okay, so that's what the add migration does. And then after you do that, all you have to do is update database. And it takes these instructions, converts it into SQL code, and it actually creates the database itself. Okay, so if you look through here, you should see some SQL code that you recognize. And at this point, it has created the database. You can actually go into the SQL Server Explorer and you can see it. And I've done this a couple times, so let me refresh here so I can get my current one. PD is my current one. And then you can see it did generate all of my columns. I got my primary key, and you can see, make sure your sizes are there, everything that you specified. So at this point, I got my database. I pretty much have everything that I need, and I can actually come over here and I can run it. And if I run it, I'm not going to have any formatting in because I haven't done any of that. And if I want to get to the section that actually displays the professional development stuff, I would have to add /pd/index onto the end of the URL. But I have gone ahead and done the formatting. So I'm going to show you that. For the formatting, you do need to add some styling to site CSS. So that is up under www.root and CSS. So at a very minimum, you need to add some anchor CSS and something for your heading. Now you can see I did quite a bit more. This button CSS does nothing, so I'm going to get rid of that. I will show you how to change the button colors if you don't like them. But you need at least to style one heading, and you need to style your links. And you can do anything else that you would like. I mean, you can see I added some to the body. I added some styling to images. So, you know, it's up to you what else you want to do there. After you do that, you're going to make sure you save. You need to have at least one image added to your project. Now that's going to require right-click, add, and folder, and you're going to call it images. And then you've got to, you know, go somewhere online like Pixabay, find an image that you like, and you're going to have to save it into this images folder. Okay? And once you do that, it should be available for you to add to the different pages. And to add them to the pages, and I put them in a couple places. Here's my index. This is my landing page. So I do expect you guys to kind of customize your landing page. And so this is a very simple customization. Keep track of your PD opportunities in an easy to manage layout. I've got a little graphic here, and that is one place that I put it. I also decided to put one in the create page. And the create page has got the grid bootstrap in it. And you can see the first column is 4. So inside this div, what I did down here was I just added another one for the image, and I made it call 8. So it'll be 8 wide. And then I thought it was a little too close to the text, so I threw a style with padding left in there. Okay, so I will show you what that looks like in a minute, but you need at least one image. Okay, then you do need to make sure that you don't have default text here in your index page. And you should also change the privacy page. So basically, I changed it just to say my privacy policy is we don't collect or store personal information at this site. And the resources entered are public data. That is my privacy policy. And you might want to state that on yours. Those are two pages that you need to change. And finally, you also need to change your layout page because you need to be able to get to your index page from the navigation bar. So all I did was I copied this home, copied the, opening through the closing LI, pasted it here, and I adjusted the navigation so that it would go to my PD folder and my index page in there. This is the name that's going to display. Okay, and so now I have access to that from the navigation menu. Also, because I don't like the light menu, I changed it to the dark. So I went navbar dark and background black. Then I had to go down here in my the links, the anchors here, and change the text to white. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so that's a whole lot of changes. One other thing I changed, and I actually did this right in the page. I did not like the blue buttons because they did not go with my color theme. So what was making them blue was in the class, you have to have button for the class, but next to that, it said button dash primary. That pulls in the blue color. So I took button dash primary out and I added a style for my own background color. And that got rid of the blue. So now I am going to show you what I did and how it looks. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And you can see this is the changes that I made to my landing page. My privacy page looks like this. Oops, I can see I misspelled public. Going to have to fix that. Might as well do that now. Privacy. Oh, whoops, typos. All right. Let's reload. Okay, love that reload feature. So now I've got the correct spelling of public. And here is my professional development list. Now, I had so many things that the edit, details, and delete looked kind of funky over here. They were wrapping, they didn't look good. So what I did was I did change the layout of this a little bit, and I think this looks a whole lot better. So let me show you what I did. Okay, that's my index. So how this, let's see, is that the right one? Yes. So how this looked was this TD was up here. So it was all part of this row that had way too much in it. So what I did was I took that TD and I moved it into another row. And then for the one column that I have, I did a column span. And you guys may remember this from the 180 class. Okay, this is just regular HTML here. Okay, and so I put the column span in, and then I felt like it needed some kind of a separator. So I added the horizontal rule that added the line across. So you can see how that looks. I've got this now below, and I've got this nice little line across. And I personally think that looks a whole lot better than it looked when everything was scrunched over there. And then if we go into the create page, you can see how that button looks. Okay, and I added a little graphic here. And then if we go into details and delete, I did not change the color of the delete button because, you know, deleting is potentially dangerous. So having it red was fine. Okay, but that is my demo of my app. This is very similar to what you need to do. And if you wanted to view this and download it, I do have it on GitHub and there is a link to it. So you guys can download it and take a look at it. In addition to having the Razor page, Movie One and Contasso to look at, you can also look at mine.